Welcome back to 10 at the Table. I'm Christy. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 8, a home educator for 24 years. And this channel is a place where I want to talk about all things motherhood and learning and all things kid related. So today I want to talk about some of the gaps I'm hearing about in education and how our kids are falling behind, especially when it comes to reading and writing. And I want to give you some tips for the summer as we head out of this school year, and some things that you can do to prepare your kids going into the next school year to get them really, maybe not caught up all the way, but to help them feel more confident in the next grade and what they're going to encounter and some of the challenges that they're going to face. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we have a real lag in reading ability, and our kids don't know how to write as a result of it. So they're having a hard time comprehending what they're reading, and so therefore their writing skills have suffered. So we're seeing some real tragic statistics coming out about eighth graders who cannot read at an eighth grade reading level going into high school, or high school seniors graduating and they're not reading at even a freshman level, which means that they're not able to write well. So one really simple and easy way for you to help your kids this summer is have them sit down and write out a list of things that they really love and they're really interested in. And then sit down and talk to them about that. What are the things that really capture their attention and really make them sit up and go, yeah, I'm really, really interested in that. So once their list is done, then take them to the library. And this doesn't take a long time, but it's a fun little field trip. Maybe go for ice cream and hit the library and let them check out as many books as they want at the library. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set a timer every day. And for younger kids, it's going to be a smaller amount of time. But if your kid is really struggling and really behind, then it's going to start out with maybe 10 minutes a day. But I wouldn't say any less than 10 minutes, and I wouldn't say any more than like 30, 45 minutes if they're not it's not something that they struggle with. But what you're going to do is you're going to require a certain amount of time every day to read out loud. And reading out loud is so important because it helps them to have what they're reading be really ingrained in their mind. And it's really, whatever they're reading is really going to stick. So lower the bar. Put the bar really low, something that they can achieve easily, that they're not going to get frustrated with, and an amount of time that you can realistically sit with them and listen. And that part is really important because it shows them that you're really invested in what they're reading and that you care, that you want them to be a really good reader. So then it might take a couple days, it might take a couple weeks until they get to a point where that time limit is not long enough. They're going to want to keep reading longer because they're super interested in what they're reading and they're really invested in that book now. So set the timer more for you on that when you hit that point, so that this is how long mom or dad are going to sit with you, and we're going to listen to you read to us and help them make sure they're pronouncing the words right, make sure they're pausing when there's a comma and a period, and understanding how paragraphs are written. And then if they want to keep going after that certain amount of time, then you're going to go, okay, mom has to go start dinner, or dad has to go out and mow the lawn, but I want you to keep reading on your own. And then if that's the case, make sure you touch base with them again and ask them to repeat to you what those parts that they read are. Have them summarize what they read and have them repeat that back to you, because you missed it. You weren't there for that part. So you want them to tell you the story from their perspective after they've read it. And that's a really good way for them to have read something and be able to repeat it back or summarize back to you what they've read. So you're going to keep doing this for a couple weeks until they get really confident. And it's super important for them to be confident readers and understand what they're reading, because they're never going to be a good writer, be able to write paragraphs and papers and theses and research papers if they don't understand what they're reading. So then when you see that they're really confident, then you bump it up 5 minutes. If they've started out reading out loud 10 minutes, bump it up to 15 minutes. Now we're going to read 15 minutes every day. And so exciting, like celebrate those victories. Like you were reading 10 minutes a day, but now we're going to read 15 minutes a day. And that's such a great thing for you. And if they're showing some interest in writing about what they've read, then encourage them to keep a journal on that book that they're reading. And if they're an older student, you might need, and they're really behind grade level, I would say really hone in on some of the problems that they're having. Like, is it a comprehension problem? Is it a pronunciation problem? Like, what is really, maybe, I mean, do they have dyslexia? Are they having a hard time recognizing what letters are? So it helps in a number of ways. It's a confidence booster. It shows that you're invested in what they're doing, what they're reading about. And maybe you alternate. Like they read a paragraph, you read a paragraph. They read a paragraph, you read a paragraph. And that really shows them that you're invested in what they're doing. And then encourage them to journal about what they're writing about or reading about, and write those things down. Maybe it's just a couple sentences about, maybe it starts out really, really simplistic in the beginning. Jane and her family got a new dog. Or, just pick out some of the, write 3 things down that you learned from what you read today. And that helps them remember and comprehend what they're reading. Then once you get to a point where they don't want to stop, then encourage them to keep reading for as long as they want. And pretty soon, I think you'll find that you've got kids holed up in their rooms reading these books because they don't want to put it down. Another thing that we've done as my kids are growing up is, like, during the Christmas time, we pick out some Christmas books that we read out loud together. I read out loud to them together, and then we talk about what's going on. We've done the Christmas Shoes series, which is an amazing series, and you'll bawl your eyes out, but it's really fun to read during Christmas time, and it's just fun family activity. But really encourage them to write down what they're reading, or repeat back to you, summarize back to you what they've read that day if they've gone on longer than what the timer has been, and then continue encouraging them to read longer and longer and longer. If your kids are having trouble in school with certain subjects, maybe they really struggle with history, have them come home to you and set aside 30 minutes. We all can have 30 minutes a day where we sit down with our kids and have them read out loud to us. Reading out loud is such an important step, I think, that we miss in our kids' learning, because reading out loud helps them to see what the words are on the page. They hear what they're reading, and they're speaking. So it helps them in a number of ways. And I think you'll find that as the more they do this, that they become really confident in speaking to other people. They will not have so much trepidation about maybe having to give a speech in class. And then maybe practice that. Maybe after they've read for 30 minutes or whatever, have them stand up and look you in the eye and tell them what they read, or tell you what they read in their science book that day. So repeating it back, summarizing what they've read, is a super important part of comprehending and then having that information stick for them. It's super important for when they're studying for tests, that they understand what they're reading. They can sit down and read words on a page, but they get done and they don't have any idea what they've read. So help them to really have that information stick, and that the things that they've read, make sure that they can summarize that back to you. And if they can't, then they need to reread it. So you don't have to be a hard nose about it in the beginning, but I would say if you have a high school kid that's really struggling, some tough love might be in order to get them caught up and get them to be ready for the next things, because chances are they're going to go get a job where they have to read things, they have to follow directions, they have to do certain things, that reading becomes a real essential part of that. And then maybe they have to write reports for their boss or write reports for a college class. And if they're not ready for that, it's just such a disservice to our kids to have them not be able to read well. So I hope some of these tips help. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Please comment in the comments below, like and subscribe this channel, and I hope to be come to you every day with some kind of information or tidbit of advice that maybe you haven't thought about to help your kids to love learning and to be lifelong learners. So we'll see you tomorrow.